Daniel Sports Central will be over our next team prediction of this offseason, and it's going to be the Kentucky Wildcats, a team that was 5-6 overall in the 2020 season. Not a bad season for Kentucky in 2020. This team was a middle-of-the-pack team in the SEC last season, and overall, this team has got a decent amount of potential for sure going into 2021. I could definitely see Kentucky being a contender in the SEC, and why that is what we're going over here today. We're going to go and get started with Kentucky's final prediction. We'll be looking at your season trends here today, looking back at 2020 to get things started with your predictions. So last season, this team was 5-6 overall. They were 2-3 in their first 5 games, 3-3 in the last 6. So this team was pretty consistent overall last season. Had a few pretty good wins. I mean, they beat Mississippi State 24-2. That was a good win. Beat Tennessee on the road 34-7. Beat Vanderbilt in a close one. That was a scary game there, 38-35. Beat South Carolina 41-18, and also beat NC State in their bowl game. Good bowl win. 23-21 was the final score there. So Kentucky, once again, last season, especially, that NC State win, that was a huge win there, especially. NC State last season was actually one of the better teams in the ACC last season. So for Kentucky to get the win there, that was a great way to finish out the season, and this team has got a decent amount of momentum going into 2021, which is definitely a good sign as we head into the future. Looking at your returning production going into next season, it's going to be a very interesting season for Kentucky, of course, because Terry Wilson is actually transferring to New Mexico, so he will not be with Kentucky next season. Quarterback situation is definitely the hugest question mark, or the biggest question mark on this Kentucky team going into next season. It looks like Joey Gatewood is more than likely the most likely candidate to be the quarterback next season for this team. But I could easily see a couple of quarterbacks splitting time for Kentucky next year. I think Joey Gatewood, he played a little bit last season, 109 yards, 1 interception, 48% on his completion rate. But overall, Terry Wilson was the main quarterback, and he didn't get a whole lot of playing time. So we have not seen Joey Gatewood a whole lot, but once again, it looks like he's going to be the starting or the primary quarterback for now. Obviously, that can definitely change as we head closer to September. But as for the running back core, of course, you got Chris Rodriguez coming back. He was your top in the backfield last season, put up 800 yards, 11 touchdowns. So that's going to be a huge return there. He's going to have a huge season coming up here in 2021. Only problem is you do lose a Sim Rose. That's going to be a tough loss there. He put up just over 750 yards last season. So they'll probably definitely be one of the tougher losses for this team, especially in the backfield. But the good thing is you do have Chris Rodriguez in the main position now. As for the receiving core, this is a very interesting position because you got Josh Allen coming back. Last season, he was your top receiver, put up nearly 500 yards. So he was by far the leading receiver last season. But Wan'Dale Robinson is coming in. He was the former Nebraska wide receiver. He was with them for a couple of seasons. By far Nebraska's best receiver last season. So that's going to be a huge land for Kentucky going into next season in the receiving core. Looking at Wan'Dale Robinson for Nebraska last season, put up 700 total yards and 2 touchdowns. So he is definitely going to be a player to watch out for in the future for Kentucky. Keaton Upshaw is also coming back. He was your tight end last season, put up a decent amount of yardage as well. So receiving core looks pretty good. Of course, Josh Allen once again was your main receiver for sure last season. The next highest receiver was your tight end, Keaton Upshaw, with 200 yards. So overall, looks pretty good offensively for Kentucky. You do lose 2 offensive linemen though. So do be aware of that. But overall, once again, this team looks pretty good in the returning production category. Of course, on the defense, you do lose 7 starters. That is my main concern for this team as well. Quarterback position is kind of a concern for me. But defensively, this team does lose 3 defensive linemen, 1 linebacker, and 2 in the secondary. So you do have to keep that in mind as well. But once again, there definitely is potential on this Kentucky team going into next season. I think, if a few things go right for this team, such as Joey Gatewood playing well, if he comes into the position at quarterback and plays even better than Terry Wilson did last season, this Kentucky team could be for real next season. Offensively, once again, quarterback is the main concern. Defensively, it's mainly on the defensive line. But chances of a bowl season coming up here for Kentucky, that's going to be a main question that I'm sure most Wildcat fans are going to be wondering. This team, obviously, last season being 5-6, made it to a bowl game. Of course, a 5-6 record is pretty good. Especially for last season being as crazy as it was. But for Kentucky going into 2021, your schedule isn't terrible. It's definitely not the worst in the SEC. So that definitely opens up the opportunity to get to a bowl game. You just got to make sure that you don't take any bad losses You got to beat the teams that you're supposed to, and that's the main key to getting to a bowl game no matter what. But looking at your schedule now, of course, you got Louisiana Monroe to start off your season. Of course, Louisiana Monroe last season was probably the worst team in the FBS, so you got a pretty easy matchup there. Chattanooga is also a non-conference matchup. You got Missouri and South Carolina also in your non-conference games. So, of course, Missouri next season, they could be decent. South Carolina, not so much. Not expecting much out of them, but you do have to play them on the road. October is going to be brutal for Kentucky. You've got Florida, LSU, Georgia in 3 back-to-back weeks. And I think Florida next season especially is going to be, honestly, all 3 of those matchups. Like Georgia on the road, I'd probably say that's the toughest one of the 3. But LSU and Florida both should be pretty good next season as well. Mississippi State, don't sleep on them. That's a road trip there. That could definitely be a close to a tough matchup as well. November, then you get kind of an easier month in November. You got Tennessee, Vanderbilt, New Mexico State, then Louisville. So really, I mean, your schedule sets up nicely. You've got your one tough month in the middle there, and once you get past October, it could be smooth sailing. So, I mean, if you can get 2 or 3 wins, even 2 wins out of October, that put you in a very good position to get to a bowl game. But as for September, you're going to go 3-1 in your September month. Louisiana Monroe is going to be a win. Missouri is going to be a close one, but a loss. Chattanooga and South Carolina both should be easy wins. Not expecting much out of South Carolina, but who knows, with it being on the road, that could end up being a closer matchup. But either way, 3-1 is what I've got you through September. Now, October, once again, as I just said, this is a brutal month. You're playing 4 of the best teams in the SEC in this month. I think you're going to take losses in all 4 games, unfortunately. Florida, of course, next season. Emory Jones, I like them a decent amount. LSU, they just had a fluke of a season in 2020. They'll be back to being, once again, a great team. Georgia on the road, I see Georgia being a national contender next season, and with it also being a road trip, that's not going to be a win. Mississippi State's probably the most likely win out of the 4, but the problem is you got to play them on the road in a somewhat tough environment. So Mississippi State's also going to be a loss, so you're going to be 3-5 heading into November. So you basically got to win 3 of your last 4, which, once again, November, that is not a hard task. I mean, all 4 of those games are definitely winnable for Kentucky. Tennessee's going to be a win. Vanderbilt's going to be a win. New Mexico State's going to be a win. And Louisville is going to be a close win. So you're going to be 7-5. I've actually got you winning all 4 of your last games. Tennessee, I'm going to say it's a close one just because Tennessee and Kentucky usually play each other pretty well when they do. And Vanderbilt and New Mexico State, of course, both of those will be easy wins. Vanderbilt, don't expect much out of them. New Mexico State is not a very good team at all. So should be easy wins there. So you've got 5 guaranteed wins on your schedule no matter what. Those are the games in green. And then Louisville, of course, Kentucky has had a ton of success against Louisville in the past few years. I don't see a reason to believe that Louisville is going to win that game this season. It is on the road, so do watch out for that. But either way, it's going to be a win. So 7-5 is what I've got Kentucky at for next season. That is not a bad record at all for this team. I think 7-5 would be a very comfortable position for this team if they were able to get up there. And I think bowl potential is definitely high for this team. They're definitely more likely than not to get to a bowl game next season. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below on Kentucky. Very interesting season going into next season, especially considering, like, once again, this team's quarterback situation and etc. So, but anyway, that being said, let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this Kentucky team. I appreciate you guys all watching. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. I'll see you guys later.